Hi everyone, welcome to the contributors meeting. I'm going to be your host today. I'm Leo, and let's start by sharing my screen. You can see my browser.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So starting with triage and discussion as usual. Last week we had Ishita and Blake. I see, Blake, you added three topics here. So you want me to click on top of those?
Yeah, click on those and
Okay.
we can discuss. These were some things which stood out. One which is this Helm template skip tests. Very interesting. I didn't even realize that was a thing that tests could be deployed or test manifests could be deployed, if I understand this correctly. But the proposal, just the proposal is that there should be a way of skipping these tests. But the question is whether this should not be something which we should do by default. I don't know. It's
Mhm. Yeah, I see Pasha added a label here. Yeah, it would require some investigation. I'm not aware of this type of tests in Helm either. Okay, let's move on. The next one is
this one's a bit of a. I mean, I think this one was more of a red herring. It's on the very last comment, which is basically so. What happens is that they try to add a cluster, it hangs, nothing happens, and then apparently the number of replicas differ from the actual number of controller pods that were deployed, and this was the root cause of it. So that was also an interesting one. And then outcome should be if there's
okay. You
a.
want so what do you think should be the action here? Is there any
I
action
think
item here?
I think there is at least to see whether like as the suggestion was here, it's like if we could somehow notify or output a warning log if there aren't if the number of application controller pods aren't the same as configured in the replicas. I think that would be, or at least to investigate if that is easy to do.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't understand the relationship between registering a
No,
new cluster and the replicas, honestly. Yeah, I would
no,
have
I
to
think
read. Mhm.
yeah, but I think that's basically red herring. I think what the actual issue of this guy's predicament was the end comments. But this would also need someone to investigate to verify that this is if it is that simple, and we could just add some kind of warning or notification that the replicas don't match the number of pods that are actually running.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe we should create a label so we can categorize issues that require investigation. This may be something we can discuss in the next topic. I saw Regina wants to present something there. Um, so we can easily filter by issues that are requiring some attention.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. The next one is how to sync
This one,
applications ignore manifest path annotation.
this one is also something which also needs investigation. So since 211, you could there is possibility of adding annotation to paths so that only certain paths triggers or would trigger a sync, or like that they should only certain paths should be taken into account when a sync is done. But this is stating that even with yeah, exactly. So the expected behaviors, like that application only 10% when there's a new revision and it matches its manifest path annotation. I think this would also need investigation. Probably Alexander from your team would be the one to investigate this as well.
You think this is functionality he worked on recently?
From looking at his manifest, he uses directory recurse through, and his manifest generic path is pointing probably to the root folder only. So
I see what you mean. Yeah, so this could actually be just an incorrect manifest. I can take a look.
an interesting use case to try to reproduce the recurse through and the annotation.
Yeah, I could take a look at that. Investigate a bit deeper.
All right. Okay, thank you, Blake. Moving on, we need to select who's going to be doing triage next week. Any volunteers for primary and secondary?
I'll take
Ishita.
primary.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
I can go with secondary if anyone.
Okay, thank you, Nitish. Where's your name? Is your name in the list?
Not exactly.
Not yet. Okay. Acuity, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anything to add in this week's triage, Ishita? I see you in the call.
Nothing from my side.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's start with the discussion section of the call. So, Regina, you have a topic you want to present?
Yeah. So basically, I was looking at the amount of issues at the repository, and also last week we started a bit discussing it. There are about 3,000 issues, but I think that we can close a very big amount of those issues if we are able to kind of define in a deterministic way which issues are the issues that we consider as stale. And so I have made a couple of suggestions here. So those are kind of candidates of candidates to the definitions of issue being stale. And I wanted to go over those and see, first of all, whether they make sense, or maybe some of you have other commands to refine this. And if we are able to get a deterministic definition, then this can be automated, and then they can be closed quickly, either by using some kind of GitHub bot, or even by simply invoking the GitHub API. So let's go over the categories that I suggest, and I hope to hear comments on those. First of all, if we look at the created date, then we see that approximately 2,000 issues were created more than 1 year ago. That as itself, I don't think that it's enough to say that an issue is stale, because it might have been updated later. And so another criteria can be to look at the issues that were updated more than 1 year ago. As you can see, there's significantly less. Another criteria would be looking also at the reactions. So if we see that an issue doesn't have many reactions, or has a few reactions, and it was updated a long time ago, it's also a candidate for being closed. Or otherwise, we could look not only at the reactions, we can look at the comments. Maybe if this issue has a lot of comments, maybe there is some interest in that, and we shouldn't close it. And so only look at the issues that have a few comments as a candidate for closed, or to combine everything and say an issue is stale if it doesn't have much reactions, it doesn't have much comments, and no one updated it in the last year. So does anyone have comments?
I personally like the last one. I think we should combine the comments and reactions. We had this discussion in the past. I mean, there's discussion to whether or not have a bot to automatically stale and close ticket issues in GitHub. At that time, it was defined that we wouldn't be adding a bot to do that. So
Not to
some
risk,
people were against it. Sorry?
risk, because of not to take the risk of something getting accidentally closed.
I think the argument used at that point was that it wouldn't be a good user experience to have a bot automatically closing people's issues. So some people were against having that automated, and yeah, I think it was used the term like it would be a lack of respect on people's time. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
personally not opposed. I think it is. I think the criteria you suggested here, having 5 comments, less than 5 comments, less than 5 reactions, it makes sense. I think it's a good way to filter out issues that are highly. It could be considered as stale with some good level of confidence. So yeah, not sure what others have to say there.
no, I agree. I like it. And maybe so I'm gonna equate this to what some other repos do. So I have I have this outstanding PR against the OpenShift Git repo. And so what happens there is there's tiers, right? So first it gets flagged as stale, and then it gets flagged as frozen, and then it's closed, right? So maybe if we instead of just like closing them, maybe we can have, since it's a bot, right? Since we can just write whatever we want, maybe we can like mark something as stale, and then only to like, mark it as fresh or whatever, or in frozen, whatever. Someone needs to actually go in and actually unmark it, right? So it puts the onus back on the person who like opened the issue or opened the PR. Like if they are actually really serious about the issue or the PR, or anyone else for that matter, they could like just, they'll be notified because it's on Git, right? It'll be notified as stale or frozen or whatever. But because I know I've been having to go back and unfreeze mine. But the idea is, anyways, just to kind of summarize back what I said before, is like maybe we'll have tiers, right? Like maybe we'll like after X, whatever the criteria are, right after X we'll mark it as stale, and after X we'll mark it as frozen, and then after X we'll just close it, right? And so so that way it's not just like an automatic closure. Maybe like we'll have a few steps in between.
Well,
Yeah,
and people can reopen an issue once it's been closed, like, right? I mean, if we close it, it's not like we put the nail on the coffin. I think we can even have a message when we close it that just says like, hey, if this is still an issue and you still want to discuss it, then please, reopen the issue. But I think being respectful, like, people created an issue, we want to give it a fair shake, we want to have a chance for people to participate on it. But if it's more than a year and it hasn't had any updates on it, if it's still important, it'll still keep squeaking. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so if we close it and we say, hey, if this is still an issue, reopen it. We're not saying this isn't an issue. We're not saying it's not important. We're just saying, hey, we haven't seen an activity. We're going to close it. If it's still important, reopen it, and we'll start the timer again, and it'll give a chance for people to look at it. Because otherwise, it just keeps growing, And I think we'd like to get down to a manageable number of issues where we have a good idea about what's going on, where the biggest points are. And right now, if there were 800 duplicate issues, none of us would know because there's just too many. Right.
Mhm.
So I think we
Yeah.
need to get to a manageable level We need to get to a level where we can notice duplicates, merge them together, consolidate, and that'll give us way better clarity anyway. Because if we have everybody pushing to one issue, rather than pushing to 500 issues or whatever, then we're gonna know what we need to work on, and we're gonna know what's most important to the user base. So I think it's more respectful to the user base to be aggressive about closing stale issues so that we can focus on the things that are most important.
So maybe we can close them with some nice comments that explains the rationale behind it and invites the user to reopen the issue if it's still relevant.
Yeah, I like that.
To give you a little bit of perspective on what we've done with workflows, we have had the auto stale bot and mostly gone back to disabling it. But if a issue is flagged manually as more information needed, then the stale bot will kick in quite quickly. And I would suggest that is quite a useful tool. Whether or not you combine it with a long-term stale bot, being able to flag this isn't enough information for us for this to be a proper issue, and then it get auto closed within a month or two is quite useful.
Alexander here, just one comment. Perhaps it would be useful if you want to judge if an issue is stale, also take a look at the associated PRs, because there could be discussion in the PRs, not on the issue itself, right? So so the PR was updated recently. That also means that the issue is being worked on.
Alan, what was the reason that the bot was abandoned?
It was considered a bit too aggressive, I think, but we were running with a shorter time period than a year, so it was the balance was decided to cut it down by reducing it to, we were under 1,000 issues anyway, open. So we're already at your target in workflows. There's under 1,000 open issues. So we're already at your target. And it was closing ones that were really still live and useful issues, including things like proposals for, we don't do sharding in workflows, and we'd like to do sharding, but that would keep getting closed because nobody was working on it. But we'd still like the issue to be there, to be the central point of discussion around that.
So basically, was the bot only looking at the dates of the issues?
I believe so. Last interactions was what I think it was looking at.
Yeah, so in order to prevent that problem, we want to introduce other criteria that is like more careful.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if Stalebot allows all those criteria automatically out of the box. So
I can check that. I can check what a bot, how smart can the bot be, and can it support the criteria that we have defined, and if not, and we do agree that we need some kind of open automatic closure, then I just can write an automation for that based on the criteria that we agree on.
yeah, and one thing I would suggest is to have an additional, before changing anything in the repo, having an additional discussion with the leads, at least with Michael, because yeah, he was the one against with this move in the past. So having the agreement there, then I think we should be good to go.
Yeah, I think the issue I have with these stale bots is general that they're usually too aggressive, that I've seen in many repos, but I think a year or such is quite reasonable. And if we could just say, like, after a year we have the stale bot send, tag it with Rodin or whatever, and just send a message saying, like, okay, if you don't answer within X amount of period, then we'll close the issue, and then the closing can go. I mean, I think a year is more than reasonable for any action, unlike a lot of other repos. But at least we can give them a heads up, and if it is an issue, someone can just comment and say this is an issue still, and then the timer gets reset.
So what would be the action items after this discussion? First would be to check what can, how flexible the bot is, and what else?
Yeah, having an agreement with the leads.
Yeah, I think primarily it's a follow-up conversation with Michael. Hey, we discussed this in the maintainers meeting, in the contributors meeting. People generally agreed. They felt like this criteria was reasonable. We'd like to move ahead and like close these 1,081 issues with a polite comment, inviting people to reopen if necessary. And then we'd like to explore a bot that maybe is short term or long term, and then just get feedback from Michael on that.
We can maybe even do that over GitHub issue. So maybe Regina, if you can create a GitHub issue with your proposal, we can have some sort of asynchronous discussion there and have
Good idea.
everybody on top. I like it, so I think it makes sense. That's my opinion. I can vote on your issue. So
Right, thanks a lot.
all right, thank you, Regina.
If I may just add one more comment, Alexander, here. There's a bot that I've found recently on probot.github.io that supposedly uses AI to identify duplicate issues. I haven't tested it. I just posted the link. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Don't know, but something to look at. It uses OpenAI.
All right, thank you, Alexander. Okay. I'll add the link next to the doc. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Moving on, we have one more topic to discuss today from Alan. So Alan, you want me to click the link? You want to share your screen? Up to you.
You could click the link, that would be useful.
All right.
This is a fairly old pull request that I originally discussed the concept with Michael in it must have been March 2023. I've been trying to get somebody to review it. Ishita suggested that I brought it up at one of these meetings, so here I am. She suggested.
So do you mind providing a bit more context on your proposal? Yeah, I haven't seen
it. If you want a lot of context, there is an Argo Con talk about it. This is CMP plugins moved to being sidecars on the repo server a while back, and therefore they're talking over the network. And this allows you, in concert with being allowed to use CMP plugins as sidecars, you can use them as Kubernetes services running in their own deployment independent of the repo server. So they can scale independently. You can do for them all kinds of naughty permissions if you want to, without giving them to the repo server, which is fairly tightly locked down. And it also allows for the plugins to be deployed as their own manifests. Basically, you could, rather than having to patch them into the repo server, so you're patching your Argo CD. That's my main driver. I'm developer of Argo CD Lovely plugin, which was my first intro to Argo land. And if we could just provide customized manifests or a Helm chart or both to deploy the plugin, it allows people to try it out and stop trying it out much more easily than having to patch in. The patching into the repo server is probably the hardest part of getting the thing working. So that's the discussion. The proposal was discussed a while ago. There is a separate issue for the proposal in that 14132. I got buy-in from Michael on that. But yeah, I haven't made any progress. So as Ishita suggested, I came along. I'm here. I don't know whether that helps.
So the ask, Alan, is actually to review the PR. It seems the PR is ready and open for a while. And
It is out of date. It'll go out. I've patched it up, but the out of dateness is relatively. It's a sane enough fix, but I don't want to keep fixing it if it's never going to get reviewed.
I see. Okay, we had a bit of interaction in February. Okay, and then there are some conflicts that needs to be fixed.
The conflicts are easy enough to fix, but
Okay.
they will collide with some in-flight PRs as well, because anybody who touches the plugin prototypes will.
Się zdarzyło, że
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems like a really nice feature. I worked with CMP in the past, and I think it makes sense. It's really finding one maintainer to review this PR. Yeah, I personally can't put my name on it right now. I'm on a schedule myself as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if someone has the bandwidth to review the PR. But maybe this is something that we can work with the labels, and let's see. I'll discuss this internally with Michael and see if we can take some time to review it.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
And I'll get back to you. Thank you, Alan.
No, thank you.
All right. Okay, any last minute topic someone wants to bring up?
Yeah, I have idea. So from our side, we just released 2.13 regional added, and we actually discovered we continue to monitor open issues inside it, and we discovered pretty bad bug with notification controller. It just crashing. And we yesterday published the fixed, and we're going to create RC2 probably today, maximum tomorrow. So if you have something that you want to include, please let me and Reggie know. We can include it. And the side topic of it, like, this means that controller crashed. This means that we have zero tests around it, and it's like sitting inside Argo CD, we can say that it's pretty important component of Argo CD. And I'm thinking about to add some basic tests, and just wonder what you're thinking about adding something like that will check not functionality testing, but like health checks, something like this, that at least component is running and it's operational and so on. Will it be enough, or it's waste of time? What is your opinion about it, guys?
So is this a regression or something that was there for?
Yeah, we added 6 time logic and we broke the controller completely. So it just didn't start. It's not even some logic that throw panic or something like this. It just stupidly didn't start. And we even didn't test it. So it's not good for sure.
And can you repeat the suggestion? So this needs to be fixed, right? So there's no way around it.
It's not a problem. The problem is how to test it properly. And should we test not function? Should we write not functional testing? Like, for example, to check that component can be up and running. For example, for controller, it's useless, right? Because we're doing functional testing. If it will fail during the functional testing, but for notification, we don't have tests, and I don't think we have enough capacity to write them right now. So my suggestion, at least write some basic tests that verify that component can be up and running.
So which controller is it's crashing during Bootstrap now? Which one?
Notification.
The notification controller itself. And there are no tests today to validate that is okay. Yeah, that makes
But it's fine.
sense.
It's part of procs file as Gorman. So I just
Mhm.
send some health check request during testing and verify that it's giving some response. And so on.
Okay. And out of curiosity, the fix for this issue, you think it's a simple one, or it's something that we maybe should consider reverting the PR that introduced the problem?
We pushed it yesterday in Tragic.
Oh, okay. So it's already fixed, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just thinking about testing if you have some suggestions, like sorry.
Yeah, as the problem is in the Bootstrap, I think it makes sense to have some sort of E2E test, the same flavor test that we have today for the application controller. Not sure how complex it would be to set up a new test suite just for notification controller, because this is a separate component, right? So this is
But we tested the upset controller in E2E, so it should be pretty same.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah. So I will work on it. I will add some basic stuff. If someone want to cover notification controller with some specific tests, I would appreciate it. And I can help, but for now I will just add some basic stuff.
Sounds good. Thank you, Pasha. All right. Any other topics someone wants to discuss? Okay. I'll then conclude the meeting and see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.